Hi, everyone. Heather Williams here from the California AfterSchool Network, and very excited for this fireside chat. Michael and I just realized we've been doing these chats for 2 years now, so that's super exciting. When we started this, I don't think we intended that these would be so long-lived, but we've gotten great feedback from you all about these fireside chats. So happy 2 years, Michael. Very excited for that. And then, so yes, as always, I've got Michael Funk from CDE Expanded Learning Division with me today. And then I've also got the really awesome crew from Region 6, so Kelly and Danielle, and two of the providers in Region 6, Junior and Tony, and we'll get into more detailed introductions with all of them in a few minutes, but super excited to have you all here and talk about the amazing work you all are doing. And that'll be most of our chat today. But before we get into that, a couple quick updates. One that I want to plug, we are deep in planning mode for a May 11th convening around ELO-P. So this will be all things ELO-P. We'll also be talking about other fun topics like universal transitional kindergarten and universal meals and all the different funding and opportunities that have come out and how all of that can be leveraged and coordinated within expanded learning. So that is a free convening coming up on May 11th. I think we're going to open registration next week, so be on the lookout for that. And then, Michael, I know you have a couple policy updates and other updates, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Heather. Yeah, I guess 2 years old. We're toddlers now. So I am so excited for this chat. Here we have, why am I excited about this chat? Because we've got Kelly Faustino from my division at CDE, the Expanded Learning Division, Danielle Jones, who's the county office lead for the Region 6. What is Region 6? Well, the state is divided up into all these regions, 11 regions, based on the County Superintendent Service Association, or CSSA is the acronym. And Region 6 is the Modesto, Stockton area. And here we have Tony from Modesto City Schools, former administrator, principal, now an expanded learning guru, and Junior from the Boys and Girls Club of Tracy. All of these amazing humans working together to bring about, to kind of realize the vision behind the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. And so oftentimes we have someone from this area of the state, someone from this church, different organizations on the same chat. But now we have a chance to see how the system really should work together. Like, this isn't about people in a hierarchical structure. This is about the CDE, the county office, the district, and the community-based organization working together in harmony to see this vision. And I'm so excited just to sit back and listen to the four of you talk. So with that, we have, there's not a lot of policy updates. There's the omnibus trailer bill. If you've never heard of that, but there's several proposed changes that we've talked about on the fireside chats before to the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program Education Code. We at CDE have proposed to the administration, the governor's office, several amendments after listening to the field, all of you, for so many months now. We've been showing up at many different meetings, Association of California School Administrators, the Charter School Association, the Small School District Association. I mean, showing up at districts, showing up at regional gatherings, some of which Danielle and Kelly hosted, conferences. Every time we show up to one of those, we get into a conversation and someone asks a question that has a nuance that we haven't really thought about before. And in the process of that dialogue and answering questions, we might realize, oh, well, this needs to be fine-tuned in the ed code, or there needs to be a new frequently asked question about that. So all that has informed, and we've got just this morning, I reviewed a whole nother bank of frequently asked questions that hopefully will be posted to the website, CDE website soon, and be able to even provide more clarity. So it is the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. We refer to it as the ELOP. If any of you say ELOP, we're going to bleep your comment as if you just said a swear word. Just saying, no ELOP, ELOP free zone. Is that a deal? All right. Danielle and Kelly, introduce us to your amazing guest that, I called Kelly. I said, Kelly, who could we bring on from Region 6? And it was like instantly, these two gentlemen came to mind. So tell us about that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Michael. Good morning, everyone. As Michael said, my name is Kelly Faustino, and I get the privilege of working with Danielle Jones from Stanislaus County Office of Education and Andrea Shoemate, who is our fiscal analyst. She's unable to join us today, but is also a very important part of our team. And Danielle and I are so excited to be here. And so I'm going to introduce Tony. I'm going to start us off. So as Michael noted, Tony is a former principal turned program director for Modesto City Schools, and he has come in with a bang. He has really immersed himself in expanded learning, attending every training and professional development opportunity that's available so that he has a solid understanding. And now he's turned into one of the leaders in our region. He is someone that other grantees are going with and asking, how are you doing this? Tony came in and wanted to provide the ELO-P program, the ELO program at every one of his sites, which is a big undertaking if you're considering, the staffing challenges that come along with that, the finances, as well as the overall coordination. But he's doing it. He's making it into a reality. And so I want to pass it over to Tony so you can tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Thank you, Kelly, and glad to be here. Just a little preface on how I got where I'm at. I started my career in expanded learning, so running after-school programs back 20-something years ago. And then as I went through working as a high school administrator to an elementary administrator during this pandemic, there was an opportunity that presented itself in our student support services division, which we kind of oversee all support, anything from medical needs to tiered systems of support to expanded learning. And right when I came on board last year is right around the time that we were discussing the ELOG, not the plan, but the grant. So there was a great opportunity. I have a board and a cabinet that was on board about, hey, how do we re-engage kids? How do we get on board? So really, when the day I stepped foot in April of last year, we really went with the purpose that we were going to offer summer programming and re-engage all students, and through the ELOG piece. And then that led to, we never offered before school care. Let's start that process. So through this year, before the ELO-P was in place, because of the support we have and the innovation that we're looking at, I was really given the opportunity to start exploring these opportunities. Not only on top of that, we have schools that are not ACES funded. So we even looked to partnering with Boys and Girls Club to bring on more partners this past year. So this process started already the day I started this position, and that's why I like being in this position, because I really had the opportunity to really be creative and start thinking outside the box. So that's kind of the origin story of me coming into this position, but it's exciting. I mean, there's still a lot of challenges, but if I had to start there, I would start that, with the support that I have here, it really gave me the opportunity to not only get started before we even had an ELO-P plan, but work with partners like Kelly and Danielle and other districts to make sure that we're troubleshooting and finding ways to be innovative to move forward. So that's just kind of the beginning.
I just want to interject. There is some confusion out there about the fact that we've got an ELOG and an ELO-P. So the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant was established in March of 2021 through Assembly Bill 86. And it was one-time funding of a significant amount that could be used in a variety of ways, including for student support. But it was really intended to do exactly what you said, Tony, to help, how do we support kids in coming back and re-engaging? And the money could be spent anytime for almost anything, including during the school day when school came back into session. The Expanded Learning Opportunities Plan, AB 130, and modified subsequently by other legislation, is an ongoing state-funded program. So it's a new funding source to expand that. So I just wanted to, and we've got slides and PowerPoint decks and all that to explain all that. But so I just wanted to interject what that difference was. Danielle, what's going on?
So I'm coming to you outside of the county that I work in. So Michael and Heather, thank you for inviting us to be on this call. And as Michael said, my name is Danielle, and I serve as the county lead for the Region 6 Training and Technical Assistance team. And I would like to echo what Kelly said about being very blessed to be a part of the system of support for expanded learning team. And I get to serve with people like Kelly and Andrea. And then here in my community and in Region 6, I get to serve and support people like Tony and Junior. And so I get the pleasure of introducing Junior, and I'm pointing like he's to the side of me, which he is. And what I appreciate most about Junior is the fact that I know I can give him a call and say, hey, Junior, I have this idea, or I'm doing this training and I'd love for you to send staff. And he's always willing to try things out. And if he can't, he lets me know. But he's very willing to be a part of. And I appreciate his investment in his staff. And I say that because that's not across the board, even in region. And I've heard other county leads speak to grantees and their LEAs and what they can and cannot do when it comes to investing in their staff. And these two gentlemen, I would say, are like the Cadillac version or the gold star when it comes to investing in their staff through professional development and opportunities. And I really appreciate that. So I just want to take a moment to thank the both of you for being willing to allow for your staff and supporting your staff in that way. I think if somebody asked me what I thought we did well in Region 6, and that would be building relationships. From a regional perspective, from a district perspective, I count each one of these individuals as family. I mean, they really are. They're our family. And they do the same when it comes to their districts and their staff and their people. So it's just, again, I am blessed beyond measure. So I get to work with Junior and Tony. And my understanding is that Junior is a product of the Boys and Girls Club. And so he came up the ranks, right? He participated in Boys and Girls Club. He was a site staff person, so a line staff, and now he's a director. So talk about a success story. And so when Kelly called me, I think it was last week, I don't know, COVID makes everything very fluid whenever we talked. And she asked, so who should we invite? Of course, Tony came up, but then the other name we thought of was Junior. One, because he's amazing. And I'm always saying that when I'm in a space like this and I'm surrounded by practitioners, I say, you know what? The wisdom is in the room, right? You all are the experts. And so I'm constantly deferring to them because they're doing the work. So the reason why we asked Junior is because he has a unique perspective coming from a community-based organization. And so I remember a conversation he and I had, a couple months ago now, at a GrassFit meeting when the expanded learning opportunities program was kind of really like a reality. And how do we build those partnerships? And Junior and I had a conversation. And so fast forward a couple months, one of his staff was at a training last week, an environmental literacy training. And we had a moment to check in and say what was coming up for us. And one of his site advisors said, so the district just told us that we got the contract for the ELO-P. We're going to be doing all this work. She was a bit overwhelmed, I do want to say, and hopeful. And so that to me was just music to my ears. And with that, I'm going to put myself on mute and turn it over to Junior to tell us what's happening in Tracy with the Boys and Girls Club around Expanded Learning Opportunities program.
Thank you, Danielle. Well, like Danielle mentioned, we're a pretty strong community-based program as it is. My number one phone call I get every day is how do we get more Boys and Girls Clubs? How come my kid cannot attend? Currently, we are at 7 out of the 14 K through 8 schools here. So we really are only serving half the population that can be served. The beautiful thing for us with ELO-P is we write for new sites every year. Danielle, Erin, when she says, hey, do you want more sites? I say, yes, write for as many more as we can get. Unfortunately, the past 3-4 years, you guys know the way that funding goes, and with ACEs around free and reduced lunch, we usually get nixed. We're like right there at the threshold. I think a few times we've been 2 or 3 percentages off on some of the big schools that we have wanted. So for me personally, ELO-P has been a blessing because that's my biggest concern is how do we help more kids? You know, right now we're serving 800 kids. Our goal would be that next year in August is 1,500 kids. To me, you know, there's so many kids that are in need. Like Danielle mentioned, I am a product of the Boys and Girls Club. The city of Tracy is a big commuter town. So you have a lot of parents that are no longer available for kids 3 to 6. So my biggest thing is how do we support our families? How do we support more families? And I think really through COVID, we realized that we're a bigger part than we realized. When COVID first hit and everybody said, hey, we'll see you guys next week. And then it was 2.5 years later, people still hadn't gotten together. You know, we hit the ground running. We were in virtual within a week. We all learned Zoom within a week. We went to seeing our kids where they needed to be, giving them support, backpacks, food, whatever it was to allow them, hotspots, whatever it was to allow them to succeed. So as we came back, I think we really were at the forefront of it. We were one of the first to have a virtual program and full-blown calendars and supply pickups within 2 weeks of schools shutting down. So I think that really bridged the gap with the schools. For us, the biggest thing is we have a really good relationship with our school district to begin with. A lot of the staff that we hire are college students that turn around and become teachers at our school sites. A lot of our admin and principals were on-site teachers that we've built relationship with and have moved up throughout the ranks. So right now we're excited to say that we're going to be opening up to 5 more schools. One of my biggest kind of goals was a high school. I feel like we forget about the high school kids. We serve you K through 8th grade. We're going to help you, and then you figure it out the next 4 years, which are some of the most crucial years. So for us now, we're going to be at all but 2 schools in the whole school district, and we're going to be taking on a high school. So really for me, it's outside looking in, ELO-P being really, really flexible. How can we help our kids now coming into school in kindergarten, have a partnership with the school, make sure that they're getting the support they need from 8 to 6, not just 8 to 3, but the full day as an incoming kindergartner, with our goal being that they graduate as a high school senior and having Boys and Girls Club help them throughout their 12-year kind of full school year. So I'm hoping that, you know, the ELO-P funding continues and that we're able to provide that type of opportunities for our kids. It's going to allow them to not only, you know, get their grades up, but also have a job readiness as soon as they graduate. And we're hoping that through Boys and Girls Club and our numerous partnerships, we can spark interest in our kids early, whether that be, hey, you know, our 7th grader really likes our cooking club and they graduate as a senior, and, you know, we partner them up with some of the chefs in town. So really, we want to really look at the full picture and really help put some good kids back in the community.
So last year or last fall, I had the opportunity to administer an FPM for the Boys and Girls Club at one of their sites. And when I interviewed the principal, he did not say enough great things about the Boys and Girls Club, but what stood out to me was the collaboration piece. Because as a community-based organization, you can come in, provide programming, and then leave at 6. But according to this principal, the Boys and Girls Club went above and beyond to ensure a true partnership, not just a partnership on paper, but in practice. And so, Junior, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that collaboration looks like to ensure a seamless transition from the core instructional day to the expanded learning program. What are some of the strategies that you've seen be successful?
I think for us, I think where we drop the ball in after school is we come in with all these great plans and what we need from the school. Hey, I need classrooms, I need support, I need X, Y, and Z, but really realizing that a principal, has a school of, 8,000 students, and we're talking about a small percentage. So I think number one for us, Kelly, is it's your program. It's the principal's program because it's the whole school's program. That's number one. Number two is getting away from the stigma that it's the after school kids. It's the same kids that you see at 8 o'clock or the same kids that are there at 6. And that really starts the partnership. We really go in, we have a pre-meeting with the principal, and we say, hey, what are the school goals? For instance, one of the examples that we do is a few years back when we have our pre-opening meeting with one of our principals at Central. She said, hey, my reading scores are really low. And we're just, our teachers at 3:30, they can't get out of the parking lot fast enough. And I know that, reading and making these changes are a full day thing. So, well, we took that into consideration, and we started a full-blown reading program for them through after school. And through that, within the first year, she was able to see her test scores skyrocket. So we're making a direct impact on the schools. The other thing is, what is that the principal wants to do? The principals have all these great ideas, and they're usually forward thinkers. What is it that you guys want to do? What is the best that you think you could provide your students? And we try to bridge those gaps. A few years back, we lost the intramural sports because of funding. It used to be that every elementary, every middle school played each other in basketball and volleyball and soccer, and it was a big piece. Well, they lost it. Well, as Boys and Girls Clubs, we took that over. So every Boys and Girls Club sites, we run their intramural programs. Test scores are low. How do we tutor? Technology is bad. Let's run a technology program. We have a school site that says, hey, my leadership team with my kids is not what it needs to be. We'll take on the leadership. We do the campus cleanup. So I think the way where we're successful, Kelly, is that we want a true partnership. But when we first have these initial meetings is, what does the schools need before I dump my, after school program needs? And we're able really to work. The other thing is, we have open and honest conversations. We're hiring 18, 19-year-olds that are not credentialed teachers. So we're really working with them. But again, if we're in a classroom and a pencil gets broken, we buy a whole box. How is it that we can continue to bridge that gap? And I would think a secret that hopefully people know is really like your lower level staff, your custodians. We have a great rapport with our custodians. We try to hire our paraprofessionals, which means they're already in school from 8 to 3. They're going to work with us when the bell rings, and they already know the families. And that would, to me, would be the kind of last secret, is really, really getting to know these families and really getting to know their needs, whether it's shoe drives, whether it's food drives. What is it that a kid needs? Our model is to reach kids, especially the ones who need us most. And we really live by that. If that means that a kid is hungry and I have to run in the middle of the day and buy a box of pizza to ensure that he's eaten, I think the principals are able to see, like, wow, this Boys and Girls Club is an asset to our school. Here's the changes that we've done. And the other thing for me is that I'm very data driven. So I have the data to be able to prove it. We're able to flag our Boys and Girls Club members. So they're in their ACES AGES program on site, and they flag them. So they know which student is a Boys and Girls Club student. So you can legitimately say, hey, this kid, had a 1.9 and was struggling in math. We enrolled him in Boys and Girls Club. 6 months later, he's got a 2.8 and he's succeeding. So we not only do we come in and have the spiel, we tell our staff that we're always on. We're always making sure that we're doing stuff. And then the last part is the data-driven piece. So we can come from any avenues, whether it's testimonials from parents, whether it's the relationship building with the school, or just specific data trends, because everybody sees after school from a different lens. So we want to fully bridge the gap. And like I said, our biggest goal is that we feel whatever need is needed for every specific kid.
And that's why you're not only an asset to the school, but to the community. That's wonderful. Thank you, Junior. Tony, I'm wondering if you can speak to that from the perspective of a district as a former administrator. Is there anything else that is really important when you're collaborating with your community-based organizations?
Well, I think just coming from an elementary principal perspective, I think the big change, and I think Michael could attest to this, is that we are one program, right? There's no longer the ACES is a separate program, ELO-P is a separate program. Really, what my goal has been is to really make sure that I'm in every stakeholder meetings, whether it's UPK or anything else, to make sure that the voice of expanded learning is in there, and that we're connected and aligned to whatever the principals are doing at the sites. So if it's they're working on their goals for the year, if it's how we're transitioning to universal TK, I'm part of those conversations. So from the district point of view, it's really important that expanded learning has that conversation or are part of all those conversations, because that's helping us create is that as a site principal, we thrive when everyone's part of our plan, right? If I'm a site principal, our expanded learning division, before school care, preschool, early childhood education, if everybody's under one roof with one plan, that's when you thrive as a site administrator. So really for me, from this point of view now, as I build capacity and hire more people to implement these new ELOP strategies, is to make sure that when we have these conversations, it's ours. This is our program. We're doing this together, and we're supporting not only what we're trying to do in expanded learning to support kids, but we're also supporting whatever the principals have as far as their goals for the year. Whether they're in ELA, math, equity, access, all those things. We are there. We are there, and we're aligned with them, and we are supporting them going forward. So that's a big component there. So as we work with our community partners like Junior and like other partners, we're bringing on more and more partners, but we're very clear that here are the goals of the specific sites, here are the needs of the specific site. An example is going into the summer. The 9 hours is going to look a lot different from one site to another, depending on the needs. There is very easy for me to go together and go, here's a 8 to 5 p.m. schedule. This is what you're going to follow. But if I go from one school in one part of the neighborhood that may have glaring different needs in another part, we are going to really look at how that 9-hour schedule is going to look like for summer, so we can meet the needs of the specific kids from those areas. So as the dust settles after the summer, our goal is to be fully implemented this summer for 20 days in June and have access to all our elementary sites. With that in mind, myself and the managers that work under me, we're really working on building capacity with not only our main partners, which are Police Activity League, which provides us with rec leaders, City of Modesto, and Boys and Girls Club, but also looking at partners that could come in and fill those gaps of what the needs are. If it's trauma-based counseling, then we'll be doing it. Is it STEM? Then we'll be doing it. Is it the local junior college coming in and running summer camps, or we're busing kids in the afternoon from that 1 to 5 p.m., then we'll be doing it. So it's really taking the pieces that we have, working with our main partners, but then looking at, all right, what are other specific needs that those communities or those kids need, and we can add on top of that to make sure that they're getting access to what they need outside of just academics, which is a component as well, but also enrichment experiences. Things they may not have experienced. That might just be a focal point for one school site. I got tons of kids that have never experienced this type or even been to a play or anything like that. So really it's piecemealed, but in the end, the whole idea is that we're meeting the individual needs, right? It should be in some ways. There should be an overall plan, but in the end, we need to figure out how we meet the needs of our kids. And when the dust settles, we need to look at what kids we're not serving and then engage those kids and go, okay, we didn't serve this many kids. They don't want to be an after-school program. They don't need before school care. They don't need academic and support after school. They don't check any of the normal boxes that we are doing within the ELO-P. Okay, what do they need? How do we meet that need? It could be as simple as a summer camp, 1 week long summer camp. It could be simple as, I mean, the sky's the limit. And that's what I really like about this ELO-P. It's really difficult for organizations, especially big organizations like ours, to sometimes look at, hey, it's flexible. But I think the skies are the limit where we can really continually look internally and go, all right, who are we serving? Are we serving what they need? and then looking from site to site and going, hey, there's a population of kids here that are not participating in anything. Let's engage them and find out what their needs are, and find a way to serve them as well.
You know, Tony, every week, Heather and I are talking to a K-12 leader who's really struggling, overwhelmed with teacher shortages, overwhelmed with the flux of COVID testing, staffing, overwhelmed with the amount of plans that come with all this money. Some have referred to it as a plandemic. I mean, what would you say? I mean, I don't hear any of that in your voice. I mean, I also know that one of the things that has come up universally, whether it's a community-based organization or LEA, is how am I going to do this? I can't find enough staff to do what I like, even run my ACES program. How am I going to add this? And yet in that brief last segment, you demonstrated that like you're not thinking that you have to hire everyone to be an employee of your district. You're partnering with so many different organizations to build a cluster of support that's like modular. It's like putting the Lego blocks together. What would you say to school district leader who's just overwhelmed and feeling kind of stuck? Like, how did you get to where you're at?
I mean, I think what I would say is that I've been there. I mean, I spoke to Kelly before we got on here about building the capacity. You know, we went kind of through a reorganization and then building the capacity that I need to make this happen. You know, and that's having positions, not only, you know, we talk about staffing at sites, but we're talking about managers that oversee and operate these initiatives. And we've been short on that throughout the year, but we've just started at a base. This is where we started and this is where we're headed. And then we just kept our minds on that and not so much the overall arching of meeting the 30 days and so on. So what I would say is fail. I mean, say that you're going to shoot for this, and then just say this summer, we're trying at all our elementary schools. We may not get to that point. There may be 2 or 3 that don't make the 9 hours because I just can't fill the gap. That's okay. I'm on my way. I mean, you got to start somewhere. You have to go somewhere. There are community partners. I mean, we live in a bigger city, about 200,000 people, but there are community partners that are willing and able to work. And sometimes if it's 1 week for 1 to 5 p.m., then we'll take it and we'll find a school that has that need and we'll use it. So I think for us going into the summer was, are we going for it? Yes, we're going for it. Are we going to meet the total requirements this summer? I'm hopeful. But if we don't, then we know what steps we need to take the next time around. I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm fortunate enough that before this pandemic hit, we already had a plan to get rid of waiting lists. There was already support from the district, our superintendent, that was about giving access to all, and whether it was academic or after school programs. So that plan was already in the mix and it was already supported. So I'm very fortunate to have that kind of support. And then I am very fortunate to be able to build a team now where I can focus on being creative. And that's where we're trying to get now, is getting to the point where how can we be creative since we build capacity. Danielle knows quite a few of our coordinators work with her for training and trying to create that sustainability. There's no more working in isolation. You can't do it, whether you're a big district or small district. You have to reach out. You have to use all your resources. Nobody has all the answers. I don't. I have people like Junior. I'm surrounded by people like Junior that give me the answers. I just tell them, here's the opportunity. Junior, what do you think? I would love to do this. Let's do it. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. And then the other thing is trying to break down those walls from site to sites. You know what I mean? Be part of those conversations. And I have the ability, because of my position, to make sure I'm in those conversations and I'm supporting the managers that work under me so they're empowered to support the sites. And that's really huge. If anybody's working with expanded learning, sometimes you'll feel isolated. Sometimes you feel like you're a separate program or treated that way. It's really important that we're part of all those conversations, because really the way it's going with this plan is that we are the support. Once that bell rings, before or after school, it's us. We're here to support, and we're here to support your kids. And there's really an opportunity. I think this is the biggest thing for teachers, you know, that have always wanted to try something. Any educators within the system that have always said, I've always wanted to do something with these types of kids. I've always wanted to do something, and it could be a great opportunity to empower people that have maybe been working for a long time and doing the academic focused things during the day, to really find something maybe they have a hobby or passionate about to support in expanded learning. So there is a lot of opportunities, but my biggest note to that is I know I talk to a lot of people that don't have that support that I have. It took time. We're getting there. A lot of it was on my shoulders for a while, but it's getting to a point where we're working as a team and everyone's starting to pick up pieces to the puzzle. And if you don't have the resources within your district, reach out to people like Kelly and Danielle. Reach out to districts next to you and figure it out. If you have very little funds, there are ways to partner. There are ways to be creative about it, and where we can share resources and support each other. So yeah, I just think the biggest thing right there, Michael, is that you're not in it alone. I mean, there's a huge group of resources and a lot of very smart people, smarter than me, like Junior, that work for me. I'm very fortunate.
Word that sticks out to me that you shared was when I asked you what your key to success was, you said fail. I love it when we've heard the phrase fail forward.
Mhm.
And just on a technical note, there's legislation that's proposing that the audit of the ELO-P funds would not start until 2023-24. So some have said, well, does that mean we just have another year to plan? And I'm going to borrow your words, Tony. You have another year to fail. Like, do something, put something together, get out there. Our kids need this. They're desperate for it. Our families are. And if you fall short, it's okay. Do your best. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and I think we're probably just out of time, unfortunately. I mean, we could probably have this conversation all day, and you would think we'd, little known fact, we actually don't do much prep for these fireside chats. We ask people to come on and we chat with them for about 10 minutes. You would think we gave Tony and Junior like talking points because they said all these amazing things, but that's just because they're truly amazing staff doing amazing things in Tracy and in Modesto. And so wanted to thank you both for coming on and chatting with us today and chatting with all the folks that will be watching the fireside chat. Really appreciate what you all are doing and what you're doing for your kids and your communities. It's really awesome. They're fortunate to have leaders like you. So much appreciation to you both. And I want to also big appreciation to Danielle and Kelly, one for joining us last minute. Might want to kind of put out the asks last minute, but you both jumped on that and brought on Tony and Junior. So much appreciation to you both. And with that, I think, Michael, we probably have to wrap up, unfortunately. So I will turn it over to you for the last words.
Thanks, Heather. Well, Heather and I have been talking a lot this week about the Best of Out of School Time Conference Boost in a couple of weeks. We've been talking about the May 11th event. I feel like we just got started today. I feel like so many things. I mean, we kind of put Kelly and Danielle in a position to draw the best out of Junior and Tony, but yet there's so much gold to be drawn from Kelly and Danielle about your approach to supporting your region and how you kind of create the conditions for the Tonys and the Juniors to thrive. And there's more to learn there. And Tony and Junior, I feel like, okay, we got through the first layer. Now there's so much more to unpack. So I'm just going to ask you in front of everyone who watches this chat, can we draw upon you to go deeper in another setting at some place? Yeah, thumbs up.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah, there's more to draw from this. And so Heather and I will kind of discuss that and figure out ways to bring you on. I've heard so much today, Junior, so many community-based organizations we talk with are saying, like, overwhelmed with more money, like I can't hire enough staff. Now, and I said this earlier, but I didn't hear any of that in your voice. What I heard was, we want to expand. We got, what I heard was a purpose-driven approach to your work and to the possibilities. That a purpose-driven, that more of our kids need support. I didn't hear any excuses. I didn't hear it. I know you've got challenges. I know you've got barriers. I know you've got speed bumps and potholes, and I know you're zigging and zagging. But what I heard was a purpose-driven approach to expansion, to meeting the need in your community through your organization. And Tony, something you said that I was reminded of, the learning and after school and summer principles, those 5 elements of learning that I helped facilitate with Sam Piha back in 2010. The 5th principle was expanding students' horizons. And you talked about something that I don't want to gloss over: giving kids experiences that they wouldn't normally get. Go to a play, but whatever it is. And you talk about something that has an impact that will last a lifetime. This is what this is about, this expanded learning opportunities program. It's so true. What have you dreamed about doing? What have you always thought you wanted to do? I mean, if I could record the number of times I've heard folks in our field say 2 years ago, if I just had more money, right? Well, okay, check that box. We've got more money. Now let's get to the opportunities. Our kids deserve it. Our families deserve it. And I say it all the time. What I've heard today is humans leading with love. Love that drives you to consider what our students and families need and deserve, and then doing what it takes to get through the potholes, the speed bumps, to get it done. So I'm super inspired by all 4 of you today. And Heather, thank you so much for hosting, and it's a pleasure to be working with Heather to be able to provide opportunities like this for others to see what's possible in education. We're at a moment where expanded learning can be part of the unlocking a transformation in education. If you understand that now districts all across the state are being asked to create a plan using the quality standards for expanded learning. Districts all across the state are being asked to think about youth voice and leadership, safe and healthy, supportive environment. I mean, all these types of things. So let's lead with love. Keep it out there. Thanks for all you're doing. And we'll see you all soon in another venue to keep inspiring others. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.